Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Mark Isaac Potter Presents. Today we're visiting with a dear friend, and I'll probably make fewer jokes than I usually do. I was going to make a joke about that, but I won't even do that. He's just a very good friend. I've never told you guys, as much as I talk about KMVT on here, I've never told you for about maybe 12 or 15 of the 20 years that I was at the TV station actually doing the show there, my mental illness kicked in so bad. I turned to David one day and I said, "Would you please just simply manage my show?" And I would go to the crew at the beginning of the show and I'd say, "Okay, David is producing this show that I own. If he and I say something different to each of you, David is right and I'm wrong. You guys want to talk to me? I'll be out way out in the back 40 of the parking lot smoking 3 packs of Marlboros." And we produced the show that way for 9, 10, 12 years. What do you
Something
think?
like that. Yeah, for a number of years. Yeah,
And
it
I
was it
never,
was good. I
yeah,
enjoyed it.
he's a darling friend. And then one other time, I'll say one other thing, and then one other time, I used to be, I mean, now I'm on here, five, six, literally 5 or 6 times a day. Uh, But there was a time when I could not get myself to go on TV. And when I finally made the leap, before I did it, I went to David and I said, "Would you please just sit with me on the show when I'm the guest? And I'll read some of my poetry and you'll just be there to help me get through it." And, you know, there are very few people in the world that would be as gracious, as supportive, as my friend Dave Kocharhook. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I may be so bold, it's your privilege and your honor to meet my dear friend Dave Kocharhook. I want to cry.
Well,
I
thank you,
love this
Mark.
guy. I love this guy so much.
Oh,
He helps me so much. I mean it. I really mean it.
well, I
I mean,
appreciate
we're
the chance.
friends. Don't get
We're
me wrong, but
friends. Yeah,
he
but
really just a good guy. So
yeah, I appreciate the chance to be here. You've talked to me multiple times about the possibility, and
yeah,
and I've resisted because I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about. And then the last time we were at lunch, you said, "Didn't you just come back from Japan?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And you said, "Boy, that'd be real interesting to hear about." So here I
oh
am.
yes,
And I'm just going to echo that, yeah, Mark, to your viewers there, that the two of us had worked together a lot at KMVT. As a matter of fact, when I first was introduced to KMVT, I took a class there about how to produce a show, and you were one of the two primary instructors for that course. So I learned from what you were doing, what you presented, how to actually to do these shows. And I've been doing shows there for a very long time. And they're a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it. I've worked on other people's shows like yours, and as a crew member and sometimes as a stand-in host. And it's just been a wonderful experience. So anybody out there who's got a community access network, television network near them, it's
yeah.
certainly worth time, energy, effort, the learning experience, the fun, the camaraderie, and the growth
Hmm.
associated with participating in something like that. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. I often talk to people on the show about the history of the public access world, how it came to be, and why it came to be, and all that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Do you still produce at KMBT, David?
I have not done a show in a number of months. The last one I did was in January of 2025.
Okay.
It's just been life and other things have been pretty hectic. The other thing about that, I did this for since 2007, I guess, for a lot of years,
Yeah.
and and I had a perspective, it was like uh, I made a point of just talking to almost anybody that I came across,
Mm,
learning who they are and what they did, and with a thought in the back of my mind, I wonder if this person might be, somebody that I would want to have on my show, which was a
mhm,
very broad-based, eclectic kind of a show. Interviewed all kinds of people, educators, um, scientists, artists, book writers, you name it. Okay, all kinds of people,
mhm,
and it was a lot of fun. And I was able to speak to people, business owners, from all over the world. Had folks from Thailand and France and New Zealand and Canada, and
mm. Wow.
it's been great, and I really enjoyed it. But recently, I have not had that focus because of other things I'm doing that are
Okay.
taking up gobs and gobs of energy and attention.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's just like I haven't been as attuned to those possibilities as I had been um,
Previously.
previously. Yeah, that's a good word, previously.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you, if you want to have people have any of your contact information, let's put it here in the front and then repeat it later. If you'd rather not, that's perfectly okay too. What's your
So
choice? I mean,
appreciate
you
that.
may say, well, I don't know why I would do that. I'm not promoting anything, but it's
Yeah,
up to you.
well, there is a YouTube channel, my YouTube
Okay.
channel,
Yeah.
YouTube
Okay.
slash Coker, youtube.com/Cokerhook, and they can see the spelling of my last name there.
Is it at Kocharhook?
No, uh, youtube.com/Cokerhook. That's
Okay.
the website. That's the YouTube location.
Okay.
And if they want to see the stuff that I've done up there, fine. And there's a way to reach out if you want to reach out and whatnot.
Okay.
And I do these other crazy things. I don't know how many of the people that view your videos are on your regular postings. You do messages out on an ongoing basis, and I do a monthly newsletter. Have been doing a monthly newsletter for 24 years. And so if there's anything that you see, whatever, I'm okay if people want to reach out to me. I'm not looking for anything,
Mm-hmm.
specific. I'm not asking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if somebody reaches out to you about reaching out to me, feel free to give them my contact information.
Well, it's publicly available, right?
It should be up on,
So I don't give them the wrong thing.
yeah, yeah. So as far as if they go up to my YouTube channel and see something, and great, And I
And
think there's an email, and it's, to me at referencepointtv.com, which was the name of my show. It was called Reference Point. So info@referencepointtv.com.
okay, and I'm gonna spell your name here by looking at the screen, because since it's part of the YouTube address. Last name is Kocharhook.
Correct.
All right, so let's go to episode 2 here. Tokyo, Japan.
Japan was uh, a wonderful experience. It's a country to which I have wanted to visit for many, many, many years. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why it had a draw to me. I suppose part of it is some of the, uh, uh, the philosophical approach of Asian countries on life.
Mm-hmm.
I was uh, big reader of like Musashi's Book of Five Rings and Sun Tzu's Art of War and
Well,
the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and all that
yep,
stuff from that part of, from the Eastern
yep.
world. And and it was always intrigued me. Okay. And so I never had a chance to go. I did go to Asia once on business many years ago. I was working for a company that uh, we had clients in Korea. So I went to South Korea for the better part of a week, and that was very fun and enjoyable.
Okay.
But that was my exposure or my opportunity to go that far east. And when we say east, but you fly west to get to the east. But that you know
Right.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I
But
do.
but Japan was really, really, really wonderful. I lo love the food, love the people, the environment. They have a completely different way of approaching life, and it was great to experience.
Mm, okay. Now, I think I still know how to ask questions. You want to just tell us your favorites, or you want me to ask questions, or how would
Oh,
you like to
ask
approach?
away. I'm curious to know what you want to know.
Okay. Well, I too have a great love of Asia, given that I've been a, Zen teacher and a student of Zen for 29 years now. I love China, Japan, Korea, all the rest of it. Same reason. You said it better than I usually do. Um, what do you think distinguishes the way? Oh, two parts to this question, but I'll try to. What do you think distinguishes the way Japan comes at life that is different than other countries in Asia? You
It's
know,
an
not
interesting
not the
question.
West. Yeah, not the West, but how, because they meaning those countries
Hmm.
see each other very differently from each other, whereas we in the West, unfortunately, still go, yeah, that's all the Asian people,
We sort of, yeah,
more or less.
we group it together,
We
right?
still,
Because
yeah,
it's far away. It's
and it,
completely
yeah,
different
yeah,
philosophy, different
and
way of
that's
approaching
how
things.
that's yeah. So, but
That's an interesting question.
well, I'm on Red Note, a lot, and not or some at least, and I'm on some of these other, and people from Thailand have opinions about people from Vietnam, and
Yeah.
people from China have opinions about people from South Korea, and
Hmm.
so what do you see as Japan's difference from its surrounding Asian neighbors?
Tough question for me in that I really don't have clarity on um,
The
the,
differences.
the perspectives of some of the Asian countries.
Okay,
I
okay.
know that there is very little love lost between Japan and China.
Not, we're
Uh,
not talking about the rape of Nanking here, but maybe. Yeah.
I it,
Oh Lord.
when I was in Japan, there were visitors. We were walking around and going to various places, and in Tokyo and in Osaka and other cities that we visited. And there were people there from everywhere. We met people who were from China, who were from Korea, who were from the Netherlands, who were from,
Mm-hmm.
New Zealand and Australia, and people who were there from Vietnam. So we met. I think there's a different approach to what it means to what the social contract is in Japan versus the social contract in other countries. Um, the outward manifestation of the social contract appeared to me to be very civil, very accommodating, very appreciative and understanding of the fact that there are things are going to happen and you just have to allow them to occur. Example, we had the chance to ride on the subway system, the train system in Tokyo. And during certain times of day, I mean, Tokyo is the largest city in Japan. There's like some 30 some odd million people that live there. And the downtown Tokyo area is a big key location for work, right?
Yeah.
And so these trains are super packed. You hear stuff about, oh, it's they pack them in and you have to squeeze in and they push people in and blah blah blah. That's true. It gets very, very crowded. But what's interesting is that nobody's griping. You don't hear anybody hemming and hawing or making, snide
Mm.
comments about stuff. No one is talking on their phones. No one is, they may be looking at their devices and they have earbuds and they're listening to something, but they're not interfering with other people's thought
Environment.
process,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
environment.
yeah, yeah.
There is, because there's so many people in such a small space, you have this encroachment on physical space, but
Mm-hmm.
it's accepted, it's understood, and nobody gripes about it. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else uh, in Europe, in anywhere on North America or South America even. And so, in my impression, just from what I have experienced in communities in the San Francisco Bay Area that are from other ethnicities
Ha
from
ha.
Asia, is that social perspective is something that's not broadly shared. At least that's my observation. I could be way wrong about that, but that was my
Okay.
impression.
Okay. All right. Well, that tells us a lot more than just the story tells us, you know, about the way things. I, by virtue of TikTok, I learn a lot more about Japan than I thought I would,
Mm,
because you're watching 1 or 2 minute clips, and I have actually been known to watch TikTok for 12 hours in the same day, fairly nonstop. So
mm.
I'm on there a lot. And it's interesting what happens in Japan. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
one of the I've always been interested, and I don't expect you'll know why this is true, but how they were able to create a society in which that could occur, and b keep the darn thing going that way. I mean,
yeah.
Americans are, to me, to my perception as an American, IMHO,
Hmm.
is that Americans can more often than not be abrasive, and of course, individualism is hardwired into our DNA and stuff.
Hmm. I think one of the
Uh,
big differences is that here in the US, people are um, have no compunction about expressing their perspective and their challenge, their issues, whatever they're frustrated with. And that's just not what happens in
yes, I'm a
Japan.
first generation Karen American.
But it's not that you're not frustrating somebody or you're upsetting someone, that they're not feeling that there's some kind of encroachment, okay, in in certain types of scenarios, but there's not an overt expression of that. It's like, okay,
Right.
fine. They keep it in, they vent in other ways rather than just, opening up
Yeah.
and yelling at someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. The other thing I was observed was how um, the, the high level of quality of um, things, the things that they build, the stuff that they do from an artistic perspective, the food that they prepare, the way they plate things, from a culinary perspective, there's a real sense of precision and quality that is part of it, part of the
Mm-hmm.
cultural phenomenon.
Okay.
And it was surprising to me. I mean, we ate a lot of different places. We had, but it was, and we had Italian food that was made by Japanese. We had French food that was made by a Japanese chef. We had French pastries that were made by a Japanese baker. We had you know,
I gotta get a sandwich. I'll be
and,
back.
but the thing was the level of quality
Yeah,
blew my mind, you know.
yeah.
The other things there too, just the, you know, uh, the seat cushions in the trains, the um, the chairs in the restaurants, you know, there was so much stuff that like these they take a lot of care with this. Um, a lot of times in the U.S. we're a little less focused on that. There's a major concern about the revenue stream associated with whatever you're doing, okay, in the business, etc. And you can maybe forget a little bit about the customer experience from that perspective. And they're very much interested in you as someone who's there at the
Mm,
hotel,
mm-hmm.
at the restaurant, at the
Right, right,
auto rental
right.
facility,
Yeah.
having a high quality experience,
Okay.
which is really very interesting to me.
Wow. Very cool. Very, very wonderful. I really like that you went, and I really like that a person like yourself and your wife are the kind of people that could go there and glean something deep.
Mm.
You know, some people go to other places or do things, period,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
come away from doing XYZ with no real sense of what they did. A lot of us are so myopic and
It's checking off a box.
narcissistic that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I went there.
I took
Oh,
pictures of
I
me
took
there by the
pictures.
sign, and
Yeah, I bought a bunch of candy and put it in a
I
bag
bought
and
a
brought it
coffee
home. Yeah,
mug I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
give to Aunt Bertha, and
Right. Look,
yeah,
I got
yeah,
some Pikachu cards, you know, whatever,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. So, boy,
Yeah, but
you,
and that's a real thing that you're talking about.
yeah,
My wife's a travel agent.
mm,
She talks to, you know, she's helped a number of folks go to Asia
mm-hmm,
and has communicated with many more people through Facebook groups and things like that who have gone and whatever. And it is really interesting what how many people's objective in going to a foreign country is to have said they've been there,
yes, no, that's yeah,
but not necessarily to understand the culture or to
yeah,
experience the
hmm,
beauty. And I don't mean physical. Yes, there's
no,
physical beauty in
well,
places,
but yeah,
but
I know what you
the
mean. Yeah,
beauty
the
of
literature, the
the
art,
difference
yeah.
of yeah, yeah, exactly.
Or furthermore, if I may, allow that beauty, art, culture, food, intellectual constructs to seep into them and make them better, different,
Hmm. Hmm.
so that when they go to that party in which they might or might not say, "Yeah, we, wife and I just got back in Japan,"
Hmm.
their friends are experiencing someone who's somehow, more able to be a nurturing human, a
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
curative, more, you know,
Yep. No,
I
I get it.
mean,
I agree with you. You
so
grow. You allow yourself to
you
grow.
grow and
Uh, uh,
you bring that growth back to your sphere of influence.
And I think the
And
key is you have to allow yourself to
yes,
grow.
yeah.
And the other thing about that that I think is interesting is that in doing this sort of a thing, one of the I feel blessed that I've had the chance to travel to a number of different countries, sometimes on business, sometimes on pleasure, even in
Mm,
other parts of the United States. You 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 come to appreciate the fact and realize that the fundamental thing that everyone is looking for in life is pretty much the same, you know, to be loved, to have family and friends that they support and that support them, to be doing something meaningful, to you know, to have a roof over their head, It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal. It can be, a condo or, a studio apartment in New York City. Okay. But, we're so much more alike than we are different that, you begin to realize that when you observe how other people are in other parts of and I think a lot of times people travel, but they don't spend any time observing. They spend their time running from place to place so that, like you said, they can take the picture and say, I've been there.
Right. No, and I don't know how to factor that behavior and the almost ubiquitous existence of that type of behavior, how to blend it into life
Mhm.
in a way that helps that contribute. I just can't. It probably contributes, but it just feels like, the typical. I don't want to go to all the stereotypes, but
So
go ahead.
let me put it
I
this
mean, I
way.
wish it would contribute for Christ's sake instead
Here's
of. Okay.
let me give a perspective.
All right.
When you look at
Mm-hmm.
a video screen is made up of many thousands of pixels. Each little dot is there that does something that ultimately represents the image that you see on the screen.
All right.
By analogy, then, each of us are little pixels. We contribute to the overall picture. And
Okay.
so, if one individual who has the kind of perspective that you were just talking about changes the overall picture, it brightens it or whatever. Okay. And so it's just to me, it's a matter of we have to, you can't change somebody else. There's no, it just doesn't work. The only place that you can have influence on change is within yourself. And so if you have that desire, listening, not you, meaning not you, Mark, because I
Yeah.
know
The
you
you
have this,
the
the
common
amorphous
you.
you,
The
yeah.
yeah
If
the
you have that kind of a desire, then it's up, then you start looking at the man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson wrote a song
yes
about,
yes yes
and then, hey, it has an impact. You have no idea what the words you say, the presence you present has the impact it has on other people around you. You just don't, you have no
yeah
idea.
I yeah 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 I totally agree. I always like being around you because I don't embarrass him because I enjoy it. Now, bear in mind, I absolutely love and enjoy it, but I don't do it because of that. I do it because I have an opinion with David, which to me, and he's one of the very few people I've met that I do this with, my positive opinion of him morphs into an agenda on my part. You know, I like people to know how I think he is as a person because to me, um, I almost want to ask him permission to embarrass him. To me, he's a Gandhian Dr. King, Leo the 14. I better put some women in here. Madame Curie, Joan of Arc kind of person. He's way out there in a positive way. He's vibrating at a very high level. He's contributing in ways that we won't even know ever, but also he's rippling the world for easily 1,000 years. I and I'm always speaking of which ladies have contributed. I'm always fascinated because I got to throw this in here. I'll get calls from my female friends. I'm always amazed about Joan of Arc because she was like 14 or
Mm,
17 or something when I mean, a woman in that day that were seen as property, for God's sakes,
mm,
having the guts to lead an entire nation out of one situation into another. Just, I always just amazed. I'm always amazed. I always want to just drop to my knees in front of her and say thank you for what you're doing. Because anyway, so yeah, so David's that kind of person. He's an Eckhart Tolle kind of guy to me. I've tried to encourage him to be a spiritual teacher or a wisdom teacher, and I've tried to suggest that he already is one, hoping it'll stick. I think he's doing what any of the great Zen masters do, which is they will swear up and down, and they believe it. They really believe it. It's not a it's not a twist promoting something. They really believe that they're not a Zen teacher teaching anything. The deeper teachers say, there is no such thing as, I'm kind of going on a soapbox and taking your show. There's no such thing as Zen. They'll say that, Zen flesh and bones, for example. So, this man, David, I doubt if he'll ever come back on the show because homie don't play that. It's just not his
I,
bailiwick. And
I will say one of
this
the
is
things I'm
not my
gonna,
passive aggressive attempt
yeah, no, I
because he
get that.
don't play passive aggressive. He's way over.
One of the
He's
things
a theta based, gamma based guy, not a baloney based
one of the
guy.
things that, and you had mentioned it, I think, at one point in our conversation here, that you and I have the opportunity periodically to get together. We'll get together for lunch every couple of months or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I have told you, and this is a true thing, that there are very few people that I know that I can have the level of conversation that I find myself able to have with you. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Well,
So thank you for that.
you're welcome, and you're going to help me grow again by me being able to say, and my audience knows this because I've done well over 700 shows over the years, like well over.
Hmm.
There's 835 right now already on the website if you count the shorts and the others. I have never done a show. I don't think ever, maybe with the exception of one or two, where I conducted myself the way I am today, the way I am revealing any part of my own level of intelligence or any of that. Usually, and may I be doing this, David? I mean,
Go for it, Mark.
I am preempting your show, and I didn't mean to.
No, this
No,
is
no. So no,
you
no.
asked me to be here to communicate with you. That's what
People
I'm doing.
watch me. People watch me, and what I usually do on the show is I ask the client, the guest, the questions. I act extremely silly. I tell incessantly every sentence. I break in to tell a corny, ridiculous dad joke, Ohio joke, um, Jeff Foxworthy jokes, and I never show. I just haven't had the guts, and I don't want to take on the responsibility of the positive and negative kickback. I don't show my intelligence, and I don't even dare pretend to tell people
Hmm.
that I have intelligence. I mean, my brand so far in the 2.5 years of this business has been this guy Mark is an idiot. He's stupid. He hates being a white guy. He on and on and on and on. This is
Hmm.
the first show out of these 800 where and it's because same reason I asked David to come on when I was reading my poetry on camera. He's a supportive. He's uh he's like your coach. He's like your guru. He's there. I probably couldn't do this. I couldn't even train myself to do this. You know, back in the day, and thanks for being here to be a listener, if I only had a brain. Back in the day when I was a Toastmaster, when I was a seminar leader, when I was a Zen teacher, I allowed myself to be that kind of person. But for at least the last 7 or 8 years that I've been in and out of being homeless and living in mentally ill group homes and being in and out of psychiatric wards 12, 15 times, I lost myself. And the only thing I had left to say, the only brand I could put together with Elmer's glue and sticky peanut butter was, I'm an asshole. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. Here are all the 15 terrible things that happened in my life. I never even present, I'm somebody who actually knows something. Like that. And
It,
it's,
and
and
it's
David, go ahead, David.
I was going to say that the um you said a couple of really key things there. You had allowed yourself to do those sorts of when you were in Toastmasters and seminars and whatever. And life has a way at times of um, hitting you with a brick. Okay.
Hey,
And
Brick. Hey, Brick. Yeah.
and so
Raped,
things
almost
can
murdered, almost
can
murdered
can
again.
really, it has an effect and an impact, and so it will
Yeah.
alter the way you approach
Mm.
things. N- Even within that, the real person, the true who, okay, is not the circumstances, not the experiences, not the emotions, not the thoughts, not the beliefs. I mean, we have all those things. It's not the body. We have all that stuff. That's part of this whole human thing. Okay. And it's okay to be who you are right now, the way you are right now, because that's how it got engineered. And so the way you do your show, I'm gonna make a. This is the first time I've been on your show, this series of activity, and I have not seen any of the others. I will tell you that. Okay,
That's fine. Nobody,
but
nobody
I'm
else has either.
but I'm going to make
This
it.
show's gonna get
I'm gonna
point
make a
zero
statement.
zero three
I'm
views.
I'm gonna make a statement here, and that is that the way that the structure of your show, as you have envisioned it, other than the one that we're doing right now, is speaking to people who need to hear that message,
Yeah.
for whom that is the thread that allows them to hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Praise the
that,
Lord.
my
That's
friend,
so
means
true.
you are a blessing. So thank
Uh,
you.
well, God bless you for helping me learn that. I just my heart, ever since I think about 19, my heart has just bled for every person in the world that's in pain, that's having a rough time. Um, and I mention them a lot on my show. There's women in Africa, and there's women in Africa, for example, lots of them, tens of thousands, who are so poor. This is a mother with no husband who has 2 or 3 kids.
Hmm.
These women are so poor. The only thing they have to provide to their children for food during the day, this stuff is true, what I'm saying, is the dirt under their feet. These mothers will pick up the dirt and have their children eat the dirt, hoping that there's nutrition in the soil.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, not to be Stephen Colbert, meanwhile, many countries and organizations around the world are sending petatrillions of tons of food to Africa, thinking they're feeding these people. And all that food is going to the government officials who then sell it for a profit on the black market. And that kind of stuff makes me want to go to a community college and learn how to be a contract assassin. It just, no wonder there are not just the Dr. Kings in the world, but the Black Panther parties.
Yeah.
We are one planet full of people, and the aliens that may or may not be coming here look at this and go, there's 8 billion, 9 billion people here. And 1/10 of 1% of them are obsessed and addicted and preoccupied with abusing, hurting, traumatizing, all the others so they can have everything on the planet for themselves.
Yeah, there's a belief that in some people's minds that there's a zero-sum game that so or somebody
By the way, what
in
is
order
that?
for
I
you to
never
have
have
in
known
order
what
for
that
you to have
phrase
some
means.
in order for you to have something, someone else has to lose something.
There's no,
So
there's in real reality, there's no scarcity. There's no
boy, that
scarcity.
exactly is true. There is no scarcity. There's no scarcity of food. There's no scarcity of land. There's no scarcity of water. There's no scarcity of the things that are necessary. It's a question of how it's distributed.
Yeah.
And the there is it's an interesting dichotomy too, because when we're getting into things that I never thought we were going to be talking about, but there's an interesting dichotomy here between the value proposition that a capitalistic economy offers, so that because if there is a way to generate revenue and funds and more so that you can then give back more, that's a
Hmm.
positive element. There's that versus the the um, the I have to have more and more, and that means somebody else has to have less, which is the other side of that
Yeah.
coin. Okay. And yet, when you look at trying to do something that is more socialistic in nature, if you put everything out, everybody's going to be the same and everything's going to be equal and everybody's going to have the same sort of thing. That doesn't fit with the human psyche either.
No, no,
Okay.
no,
And
no, it doesn't.
so what you have to come to appreciate, and this is a personal individual realization that
Good.
individuals are going to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
have to
yeah,
come to on their own time and energy,
yeah,
is that there is more than enough for everyone, and someone else getting something or having something does not mean that you have less, because we can always create more. One of the beauties of the advancements in technology that
yeah,
associated with us being able to get outside of planet Earth, okay,
yeah,
off of planet
yeah,
Earth,
yeah,
is that when you look at all those rocks that are flying around out there in the asteroid belt, they have more minerals and precious metals in them than we have anywhere on the planet.
yeah,
So, if that's your measure of what we need in order to have wealth or whatever, just go send
yeah,
up, let's get Elon to send up a couple of rockets and bring
yeah,
back some rocks, man,
yeah,
because people have everything they need. So
yeah,
there's just,
yeah.
anyway, we're diverting, but I wanted
Yeah, no,
to,
it's a good, it's good trouble, as what's his name, John, somebody that was worked with Dr. King said, who was in Congress for like 30, 40 years.
I
He
don't
talked
remember.
about getting into good trouble.
You're getting into good
Anyway,
trouble. Yeah. All right,
so
Mark. Well,
so
thank you.
thank you, David. God
Pleasure to
bless
be
you.
here.
Uh,
Um, let's see. I'm gonna reel it back in and see if there's anything else I wanted to say about Japan. Oh, there are two other things I wanted to say about Japan.
okay.
The first one is that the opportunity to experience traditional Japanese culture going back hundreds of years, like um, what sumo wrestling is all about. And by the way, that's just something that is localized to the greater Tokyo area. I did not know
Okay.
it's in part of the rest of the country, because it was Tokyo used to be called Edo, which
Yep.
was the capital, and whoever was emperor when they created that was his fun thing. And when
Okay.
when they got rid of him, the rest of the country was not interested in the sumo stuff, apparently.
All
But
right.
that, and then the samurai tradition, we had the opportunity to experience both of that. Got all dressed up in samurai gear and had
Oh,
the
okay.
sword, and they taught
Okay.
us how to do certain things. It was phenomenal. Loved it
Oh,
tremendously.
well,
Also
okay.
went to a bonsai museum and got to
Okay.
see trees that were 1,200 years old, 1,200-year-old tree in a pot that's gorgeous, beautiful. Can you think about how many generations of people had to care for that thing
Had to
over
commit. Yeah.
1,200 years?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. So that was that. Cool things to do. Loved it. Phenomenal. But the other thing I wanted to say is that if anybody's thinking about it might be interesting, they might find a good experience out of traveling to Japan, I would encourage them to do so in the next 5 to 7 years. And the reason I
Mm.
say 5 to 7 years is that just like we have here in the US, the generation that's coming up looks to change things, right? So the generation that's coming of age in the next 5 to 7 to 10 years, who will then be in the job force and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, have a different mentality than those that are there now. And so
Mm.
some of the cultural essence may become more of a um, and this is just me saying this. This is not anything to take to the bank. But it could be, my sense is that some of those cultural essence things are going to change, and they'll become, you can, like going um, to the museum, or one of the experience, like what's the thing, um, where
The
they do every
reenactment,
year,
like the
like a
reenactment of the
reenactment
Civil
thing.
War.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That kind of a thing, as
Yeah.
opposed to the way the culture is structured. And so, if you really want to experience it, now is the time, in my opinion, would be a good time to go, sometime in
Very
the
good.
next
So,
5 years
ladies
or
and
so.
gentlemen, we've been visiting today with Dave Kocharhook. This has been Mark Isaac Potter with Mark Isaac Potter Presents. You can reach David the way he's described on the show. If you want to get in touch with me, I just suggest you Google my name because it's on my phone number and my, social security number and my last girlfriend's maiden name are all on the internet. So, and all the social media that this is going to get it posted to, most of them do not allow me to give out my phone number, surprisingly, or my everything else. So we love you guys. My sign off, as you know, is A, we love you, I love you, and B, probably the most important thing that I've said or done today is to look at you guys and say, I love you.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a great pleasure.